on the difference between a pioneer and a settler. A pioneer and a settler. Okay? We could go all year talking about different types of people. And we can break down the T-graph, and we could talk carriers, counterfeits. Right? We could talk about these two types of people in our life. Pioneers and settlers. Pioneers, this is what pioneers do, true pioneers. And before I talk about pioneers, we all know what pioneers do, right? They go into new territories. They pioneer new territories. I believe God has called us as pioneers, but I believe there's different levels to it. Some of us are stewarding pasture, while others are stewarding palace. Some of us are stewarding locally, while others are stewarding internationally. So there's things that we're pioneering in our position and placement. Some of y'all have to steward your own house, your own bedroom. You haven't even anointed your bedroom and your windows. Pioneer that before you start to try to deliver people at your local church, right? So there's inches of territory we start to pioneer inch by inch, day by day, moment by moment, person by person. Pioneers, they pay the price and plow. That's what pioneers do. They know there's a price to pay to pioneer a territory they're anointed and assigned for. But they get their hands dirty and they get into the dirt and the soil and they plow that thing. You're going to sweat. Jesus was sweating in the Garden of Gethsemane, but he was sweating blood. Because of that anxiety, that nervousness, that, Father, not my will, but thy will be done. Let this cup pass. When I'm pioneering something, there's going to be some sweat. There's going to be some uncomfortable positions and places. It's going to be a little bit hard, and I'm going to have to move my body a little bit and get uncomfortable in a place, in a territory that I'm digging. I'm preparing this soil, God. It's going to bear so much fruit for my family that I'm going to raise and everybody around me. And pioneers, they pay the price and they plow. Let me tell you what settlers do. Settlers are always looking for discounts. Settlers are waiting, not on the Lord, they're waiting for Black Friday to hit. Settlers are always looking for sales. Now, I'm not saying that looking for sales isn't bad. That's wisdom in stewarding it. But when God tells you there's a price to pay, there's no way around it. In fact, this just came to me right now. When they were getting delivered out of Egypt towards the sea, into wilderness, God made them take the long route. Why? Because the shorter route, the detour, there's Philistines, there's giants, and God knew that if they saw, they were like, oh man, those guys are big, let's go back. So he made them go the longer route to promise. Settlers are always looking for discounts. They're always waiting and looking for things to be on sale. And they pick and choose. I want that calling, but it's too expensive. I can't pay that price, even though you could. You got it in your bank account. God sowed into you in the past seasons. You've sowed in through prayer and fasting. You deserve to pay that at full price and believe that God will continue to provide. Settlers are always settling with what is and not what God can do. What is a settler. A pioneer is what is God. Pioneers, they press into the promised land. They press into the promised land. While settlers, they always find a way to go back to Egypt. Whenever they're not getting fed, whenever there's not any water, whenever just something comes, I'm just looking for one reason to go back into bondage. I'm going one reason on why I should quit doing church. I'm giving you one reason on why I don't want to serve Jesus. I'm just looking for that reason to go back to Egypt. Quitters are also settlers. And settlers are also looking, and they make ways as quitters. You guys want to know who a pioneer was in the Bible? One of them? John the Baptist. He says, prepare the way of the Lord. He's preparing. He's pioneering. He was the voice of the one that was crying out in the wilderness. In fact, he kind of looked crazy with that diet that he had, locusts and honey. Some people think you're crazy because you go to church and your diet is the word of God. Some people are going to think you're crazy that you pray before you eat. Yeah, it's moving. John the Baptist was a pioneer. Pioneers, they continue to press into the promise, while settlers always have a reason on why they should go back to the very thing that enslaved them, that kept them in bondage. In fact, the reason why I want to go back is because there was always food and there was always water. I was always comfortable. Were you comfortable being a slave to a narcissist? Were you comfortable being a slave to the very thing that you grew up with in high school, in a relationship, and knowing, I know y'all went through some stuff, but you're not meant? Pioneers look at God and know that God is bigger than the giants. But settlers are like the spies that went to go into the promised land. They come back with a bad report saying, man, they're big and we're grasshoppers. Those giants are big, y'all. I don't know. Pioneers look at giants and says, my God is bigger. Settlers look at giants and said, yep, they're too big.